Tonight on Business Live, Africa's biggest bank, Standard Bank, reviews Ghana's growth rate forecast downwards for this year to 3.1% from the initial 6.2%. Also, continuous depreciation of the cedi poses a threat to the government's industrialization agenda. We'll hear from a business development manager.
Seriously think before doing the pricing, because we have to see past prices, we have to see upcoming prices, we have to see what is on the sea. So it's really a big challenge for us to do the pricing, but at the same time we have to see our users.
Plus, US fuel prices reduce faster than expected at the pumps, but are similar marginal declines expected in other countries like Ghana? We'll hear from a petroleum strategist. I am Beverly Broohm. Please stay for details. Forecast for the country to 4.1% from the earlier 6.8%. Government in the 2022 mid-year budget review cut the growth rate for this year to 3.7% from the earlier projection of 5.8%. Charles Nixon Yeboah looks through the bank's latest research on Ghana and has more.
The report said growth now faces a confluence of downside risk this year and next year. First, the government is running out of external financing options, therefore public investment in infrastructure is unlikely to underpin growth over the coming year. Secondly, the cedi's fall since January this year has further increased inflation, which will soften private household consumption over the coming year. Therefore, Standard Bank said the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee may have to further raise the key benchmark rate to stem rising inflation expectations as well as support the cedi. Thus, it said may also further reduce private investment over the coming year. It also pointed out that the country's growth rate also faces rising domestic fuel prices and with no fuel subsidies to offer any support. However, the gold sector may offer some upside to the outlook. The Ghanaian economy expanded by 3.3% in the first half of this year.
Now, head of trading at Republic Securities, Patrick Edemagama, has said the market is yet to react to the current downgrade of Ghana's economy by ratings agency S&P. According to him, this can ward off potential investors if government does not swiftly intervene with a good policy. He spoke on the marketplace.
Investors have constantly been reducing their exposure to this country, Ghana. So we know that they are expecting this to happen, or they've been seeing and studying the trend for some time. So that has already been in the market, and we expect to see what the government will do to respond to this, and that's what will affect the market going forward. We can also see that the reliance on the discussion with IMF can play here, because the calls we are getting from investors is showing clearly there's a level of speculation on the market now. As you can see, rates inching up little by little.
Stay on the cedi, because the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is urging the government to reconvene the Foreign Exchange Committee set up a few years ago by the Finance Ministry, which involved all relevant stakeholders to help find an immediate solution to the depreciation Ghana cedi. According to the biggest trading group in the country, the depreciation of the cedi and the high lending rate is impacting negatively on businesses. In a statement, it said the working capital of members have depleted by 40% since the dollar traded at 6 cedis 40 pesos in December last year, but now going for almost 9 cedis. Here's President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obing.
Now the dollar is 9.1. We are yet to do our Christmas sales, and it means that shortly we are going to go for 10 Ghana cedis for $1. It means that one have to go and fund 1 million Ghana cedis to buy only $100,000. The picture is not very good for us. And like you said, we admit the fact that we are also part of it, the excessive importation and that we do. It's true. The demand outstrips that of the supply. Yes, but then there's a solution to this. The imports that we do cumulatively by the indigents is around 15% only. The import that the people in Kumasi, people in Accra, people in Tamale, and all that, the importers that we do volume-wise, we do only 15% of the total volume of imports that we do, and the rest is by the multinationals. And so then government, if it has intention to curtail importation or suppress importation, then government have to use investment laws to make sure that it tightens up the rate, the speed at which we import.
Meanwhile, head client coverage IC Group Derek Mensah is optimistic that an intervention from the IMF will help lift some pressure off the city. He spoke on the marketplace.
Any form of help that the government or Ghanaians need, I think that we should look at it. But I feel that the situation, we fully, or the managers of the economy fully understand the issues that are facing the economy or the currency at the moment. I think they put in place certain measures to help improve or turn the tide. I think they are short-term in nature, but they may provide some form of respite. One of which, or two of those, are the syndicated loan that we are expecting somewhere in Q3, Q4. There's also the Afrexim loan that has been approved. We feel that even though capital markets have been closed to Ghana because of all the things that we are facing and the high interest rates in foreign markets, these two other levers that the government has yanked could potentially release somewhere close to about $2 billion onto the market. Unfortunately, these things are not going to happen, or the inflow is not coming in immediately. They are likely to come in perhaps towards the tail end of Q3 and Q4, and that's when we may see some improvement. But for now, I think that we may have to weather the storm, and hopefully when the IMF come out, or we do go into a program and there are concrete steps on how we are dealing with the fiscal situation, it may raise some of the pressure off the city. For instance, you might find a lot more foreign investors deciding to maintain their holdings in government bonds, and therefore not looking for dollars to repatriate their funds back. So that might lift a bit of the pressure off the city. But at the moment, I feel that any further interest rate rise might not materially impact the city in the short term.
Away from that, Ghana's industrialization agenda is likely to face a number of challenges if the government fails to deal with issues confronting the city. This is according to the Business Development Manager for B5 Plus Limited, Sandeep Solan. Speaking at the 2022 Ghana Corporate Brands Awards, he said the operations of various local manufacturing industries across the country are gravely impacted by the depreciating cedi against other foreign currencies, hence the need for swift solutions to make the local currency stabilize.
Industrial transformation of the country's economy had been the major focus in recent times. This has resulted in the creation of new companies and expansion of several others. According to Solan, the significant level of depreciation of the cedi is retarding the growth of the sector. He maintained that increases in taxes has also hit the sector negatively.
Actually, seriously, the cedi depreciation is affecting us a lot because, you know, we are importing most of the items and every day we cannot change the price. Being a buyer, you will not accept every day I'll tell you that the prices have gone up. So we have to seriously think before doing the pricing, because we have to see past prices, we have to see upcoming prices, we have to see what is on the sea. So it's really a big challenge for us to do the pricing, but at the same time we have to see our users. We should not affect them directly because they are also, you know, using it. So keeping all those things in mind, our chairman is always taking just steps to cover. Maybe our profits should be reduced, no problem, but we have to serve the society also. So we are just trying our level best how we can cope up with this situation and looking at the futures, you know, like maybe the future will be better.
Head of Marketing and Strategic Management for Maxim Cosmetic Ghana, Eugene Makwe, said stakeholders within the retail space should embark on various initiatives to sustain the industry.
The whole conversation of about made in Ghana and our products, you see, retail industry, right? I wish that, you know, government will have some policies or otherwise, you know, initiatives that will give, Ghanaians that leverage, so that we'll be able to be in the retail, outlets a bit more, because it's very heartbreaking to know that you walk into some of these leading retail, outlets, and you find, foreign brands in there. Now, these retail outlets, whether you like it or not, determines the consumption, pattern in every, country, right? So if the individuals go to these outlets and they find out that these are foreign brands and that's what they find there, what will happen? That's what they will buy and consume. At the end of the day, it is to our disadvantage.
The Ghana Corporate Brand Awards is intended to function as a catalyst in the Ghanaian brand sector, bringing together the most credible leading brands across industries.
Remittances and foreign direct investments into the country slowed down at the end of June this year. This compared to what the country recorded during the same period last year, but at a time that the Ghana cedi is recording some sharp depreciation against the dollar. Should we be worried about this development? George Wiafe has more.
Based on Bank of Ghana's data ending June this year, remittances brought in stood at $1.9 billion. This represents some decline from the $2.2 billion posted in June 2021. On the other hand, capital brought into the country by foreign firms for investment purposes slowed marginally, ending June this year to $805 million. This represents a marginal decline compared to the $954 million that came in during the same period for last year. For some, the development can be described as worrying, especially at a time when strong dollar inflows are needed to shore up the country's international reserves. This because it will help the Bank of Ghana deal with the sudden surge in dollar demand by businesses and also deal with the recent sharp depreciation of the Ghana cedi. Well, for some, it is the hope that these other sources of dollar inflows will pick up in the coming months. Otherwise, we definitely have to rely on the upcoming cocoa loan syndication from next month and the $750 million Afri-Exim loan that should come in by the end of this month to help improve our dollar reserves, as we hope some donor inflows would also come in quickly in the coming weeks.
Still watching Business Live here on the Joy News channel. Still to come, U.S. fuel prices reduce faster than expected at the pumps, but are similar marginal declines expected in other countries? We will hear from a petroleum strategist. Thanks so much for staying with us. The United States has seen a faster reduction at the pumps, but can same be said here happening in other economies like that of Ghana? Petroleum strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana joins us via Zoom with some answers. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for your time. It is still looking a bit difficult to tell the factors that are accounting for these current downward trends. Can you suggest some global factors that might be responsible for this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to you, and good evening to our cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Yes, it is indeed very difficult, to tell with certainty what are accountable for this. However, like I mentioned before, we will just have to wait. Monitor the market for a couple of weeks to understand what's going on. But what is clear, what is playing out since this oil market has gone, haywire. It reaches, it hits the 3-digit figure. A lot of measures have been put in place. So in hitherto, in a conventional optimization system, you have to keep one parameter constant and vary others to be able to see the impact. However, we've done a lot of variation. But two key things I think are currently on top of the list. That could be what's accountable for what we are seeing now. Number one is the rapid quantitative easing and tightening that we had in the advanced economies and even in Ghana. If you quite remember, the European world, UK, and then the US, they have done a lot of policy rate adjustment. And what they are trying to do is just to stem the increment in inflation. Their inflationary rates, they are not good for any economy. If you have too much inflation, I think it's tantamount to, it's a disaster in waiting. So because of that, a lot of adjustment has been done, and I think Ghana too, they are doing so. But these advanced economies, what they are doing is the fact, if you do policy risk adjustment, it's a double-edged sword. There's a tendency that it can dampen demand, because if you do policy risk adjustment, especially if you increase interest rates so much, lending really becomes very expensive. And so ultimately to have to reduce demand. And so that's the target. The target is to reduce demand because supply side of crude oil has always been, not forthcoming. They tried a lot, but they are not forthcoming. OPEC has not been able to give answers. And so the demand side is what they are working on. So, but this demand side, solving it using policy rates is always a double-edged sword. And so what I think is happening now, there's a tendency that we could have demand destruction. Demand destruction here means that, prices will reach at the point of inflection where consumer might not be able to, accommodate. And so people will have alternative ways, to champion transportation. So yes, there's a possibility of demand destruction setting in. It's not certainty yet. We have to wait. The other possibility that might be accountable for this is shale patch from U.S. And that's how come you see U.S. going down more than any other state, any other country as we speak now. Shale patch has been the counterbalancing force that has impacted global oil supply. In fact, they had been contributing to the previous collapse that we had. There is every sign that shale patch is ramping up. And if shale patch is ramping up and the supply side is beefed up, this could also have impact. So in my opinion, where I said, I think these are the two factors that are on top of the list. There are other things, but I think the policy rate adjustment and then the ramping up of shale patch from the U.S. to beef up the supply side may be what is keeping the market as it is now. But it is early days yet. We need to just monitor the market. Yeah.
But talk of the U.S., are we expecting similar declines in other economies, such as that of Ghana?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm afraid we might not see that. If you look at what is happening, when this kind of abnormalities and uncertainties set in, every country is trying to look at to cover its back. Unfortunately, the activities of some countries like U.S. will have direct or indirect impact on other countries, and that's what is clearly playing out. If we have hike in policy rates in a place like U.S., the dollar will automatically strengthen, and that's the target. And if the dollar is strengthened, it directly trickles to the weakening of any other currency. And if you observe, Europe in recent times has almost gone apart with the dollar. That has not happened in recent times because the dollar is becoming strengthened because of the policy rate adjustment they are doing. Yeah, so the impact may not be the same, though U.S. is fighting their own battle internally just to be able to survive, to stay afloat. The impact, the cascading impact on other economies is always dire, and Ghana is the center of that. You can clearly see that we are struggling with our cedi depreciation. Sometimes we can take the right step, we can increase our policy rates in Ghana, but if the dollar is continuing to be strengthened, if U.S. continue to adjust their policy rates as they are doing it, and dollars continue to strengthen, it indirectly weakens the other currency. And so that cascades in why I think we might not have that similar drop in other economies, not only in Ghana per se, because interest rates might not be easy, because the currency depreciation might not allow similar quantum margins to be impacted in other economies.
Thank you so much. Dr. Isif Sulemana is a petroleum strategist. Now, away from that, Deputy Director of Renewable Energy at the Ministry of Energy, Seth Mewu, has noted that there is the need to improve private sector investment and innovations in renewable energy facilities. According to him, it is imperative to increase the participation of the private sector in the provision of modern electricity services to improve the social and economic well-being of people, as well as bridge the development gap. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of the Umoja Renewable Energy Incubator Roadshow by Serengeti Energy and PFAN. The following report has more.
Renewable energies are sources of clean, inexhaustible and increasingly competitive energy. At the launch of the first Renewable Energy Incubator Program by Serengeti Energy and the Private Financing Advisory Network, Mr. Mawu said, achieving universal electricity access will involve significant commitment from political leadership, development corporations, bilateral and multilateral banks to fashion out measures that can attract high-quality investment into the electricity sector.
Most investments in this area have faced a number of challenges. People come up with very brilliant ideas, but to be able to, put these ideas together, get the needed support to reach bankability has always been a major challenge for a lot of these people. And this is the gap that Umoja Incubator is feeling for us today, such that they would be able to identify these innovative ideas, smart ideas, do the right coaching, and help the owners of these ideas to be able to turn them into bankable projects that can attract financing.
Country coordinator for PFAN Ghana, Agnes Ansah Osei, said this is aimed at giving aspiring renewable energy developers in sub-Saharan Africa the tools they need to succeed, including access to commercial and technical knowledge and funding.
I think for PFAN, for instance, we mobilize finances from the private sector because we believe that the government cannot do it alone. And so far, the participation by the private sector has been really great. All the funding that we have received has come from private donors. And with the funding that we've received, we are able to provide free business advisory services. That's why our services are for free. So we facilitate investment for businesses for free because we are donor-sponsored, and all the funding that we have received are from the private sector.
Serengeti Energy is an independent power producing, developing, constructing, and operating renewable energy projects up to around 50 megawatts in sub-Saharan Africa.
That's all for Business Live. Thank you so much for watching. You can find more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We leave you with news making headlines on the international front. My name is Beverly Broohm. Have a good evening.